Good morning, everyone. It's Lee Henson here, president and founder of Agile Dad, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand-Up. So without any further ado, let's get started. Okay, you might not recognize this face, but you will after this episode. Let me tell you, this is a dear friend of mine and someone that I met in the Agile community many, many years ago. My dear friend Tabassun Haque is with us. She is part of Agile Disrupted, one of the leading podcasts out there that is just truly disrupting the workspace and getting some traction. And it's awesome to have you here. She's also a fellow Agile coach. She's been doing a Scrum Master role for quite some time, and she's just an awesome and amazing person. So how are things going, Tabassun? Talk to me.
Oh, just like keeping it real, Lee. It's always a great opportunity to tag team with you on a podcast. And to be honest, I've been building anticipation for this day, like to be on the Daily Stand Up with Lee. But here we are. So I'm elated to be here with you.
I think the most exciting part is that this is part of the Agile Expert Series. So you're going to be here Monday with all these other affluent Agile experts. So this is your chance to knock it out of the park. This is your chance to tell us what's going on.
Oh, no pressure, Lee. Thanks
no
for
pressure.
That. I'm glad I made the cut.
Oh my goodness. I wouldn't have had it any other way. So today we wanted to talk about a topic that you brought up that I think is an important topic. We want to talk about customer needs over wants. Now, I know that I've done several episodes about, maintaining a good backlog or having good acceptance criteria or preparing to enter backlog items in. But I think that, I may be missing part of the story. So I'm counting on you to help me. So tell me a little bit more about, for my first question, tell me a little bit more about customer needs over wants and what that means to you. How is this impacting your Agile world?
Yeah. And I'm glad you bring that up because it's a fundamental question that I think a lot of product people learn on the job, and it's not actively discussed in a lot of trainings out there. And this is a constant discussion that I'm having with every place that I work. And I bring it up in today's conversation because it goes down to the fundamental responsibility that we have as human beings of when we decide something is a need versus a want, and then escalating that to customer needs and wants. And you're speaking on behalf of someone and their needs and wants. So to bring it back, like when we think about ourselves as human beings, how many times a day do we decide this is a need and this is a want? And what does that tally look like? Like how many times do we accept things that we want versus focus on things that we need? And that fundamentally impacts the livelihood of the product people that we work with every day.
Yeah, I have 4 children, so I can totally relate to this. And I love that you brought it back to the human factor, right? I mean, It was like, okay, so touchy story, but I'm going to share it real quick because it's a short one. So my son had recently gotten a car accident in one of our vehicles, and the car was totaled. He was run off the road. It wasn't a big deal, but it was a big deal, but it wasn't his fault. So one of the things that he said, okay, well, we need a new car. And I said, yes, we do. And we ended up going out and purchasing a new car. And then now he has taken possession of said new car and said that it's his. And he's like, I guess you now need a new car. And I was like, there's a difference between wants and needs. You want that car. That car is mine. I need that car. But where does this cross, right? And I think that sometimes, like you said, it's one of these things where, if you relate it to children and they say, oh, I need this. No, you don't need it. You want it. It's a privilege, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And I love that you're taking a psychology road. So talk to me more about the psychology behind this. Obviously, you've done some research, you've done some studying. How can we get people to understand the difference between wants and needs and how it impacts them on a daily life? Like you said, if you took a tally, I think that would be really interesting to see how many things you actually tally up. But let's talk more about how this impacts from day to day. What do you think about that?
It really depends on obviously each person's livelihood. And what I've researched so far is obviously relationship building and expectations. So I love that you bring up kids because I see this in supermarkets all the time. Like these parents being steamrolled by their children. I want this. I want that. And they just stock up the shopping cart, right? So the thing is, when you're in that position and you're taking responsibility for someone, sometimes it's the customer, sometimes it's your own children. You have to set expectations of, sweetheart, why do you want this? Get to the problem, have the pursuit of understanding the problem behind the wants and understanding the difference between the needs and the wants. And sometimes, let's say your child says, well, I really want this because the other kids in the class have it and I don't have it, and they're not going to be my friends if I don't have it. Okay, sweetheart, let's talk about what is going on in class that's not allowing you to have friends. So getting down to the root of the problem to understand the needs versus the wants. And again, that happens so frequently in our product lives as well. When you're in a demo room with the customer, and just like Henry Ford says, like, if I had listened to what the customer wanted, I would have built a faster horse. But the thing is, I think even Henry Ford understood that you have to get to the bottom, like the root cause of the problem, to better understand if this is a need or a want. Is this a need for the mass number of users that your product impacts, or is this just a want from one user who really wants it for their own agenda? So these are big questions we try to uncover.
So what's funny is you bring up the Henry Ford story. So the first company that he founded actually failed because he tried to build a faster horse, but what he didn't realize was that's not what the consumer wanted. So here's where it gets interesting. So this is just my nerd coming out. Here we go. So what Henry Ford discovered was that at the time, the cost to maintain a horse was astronomical. It was up to $2,000 a year to maintain a horse, to pay for all the hay, for the boarding, for this and that, for the supplies, just to maintain a horse was expensive. So when people wanted a car, they didn't necessarily want a faster horse, but a horse was always reliable too. They wanted a more reliable horse that was less expensive to maintain. And I think if you look at product that way, are we just trying to build a faster horse, or are we trying to build something that's sustainable, that's low cost to maintain? And I think that if you look at that from a product perspective, it's like, and that's why his second company was so successful, because he got the price down of the Model A to a reasonable cost so that more people could afford it, and it didn't cost a whole lot to maintain. But I love the twist that you put on it when you humanized it. So the first takeaway from this conversation for everyone listening, the first takeaway is that when we talk about wants and needs, sometimes we have to break down to the root cause. And I love that you went there. You said, what problem are we trying to solve, or what are we trying to make better? What are we trying to enhance or improve, or what problem are we trying to solve? And if we can't answer that question, then that automatically transforms it from a need to a want, because you can't justify the need.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay. So I'm not stealing a show. This is your show. So tell me more about, so tell me more, because I love that you went there, but how does this impact us in the Agile world? So let's talk about that. So now that we kind of have our head around the psychology behind and the humanized approach behind, tell me more about how this impacts us in the Agile world. What have you seen?
So something I've seen trend over time is that our ability to define or even justify needs over wants really is tied to our ability to say yes and no. Because if you say yes to many requests by the stakeholder or the sponsor, if you say yes to many requests, even by the user and the customer, when do you say no to say this is actually a want versus a need? So I think they go hand in hand sometimes, because I actually did this mini experiment. I'm building this video game on the side for product people. So, and we did a user test of measuring how a product owner's ability to define customer needs over wants was. And what we learned was that they struggled to activate that skill set, because there is an ability to say yes and to say no to stakeholders. And most of their time in their relationship with the stakeholders, they end up saying yes. Like it's this constant acceptance of features, and it's this constant acceptance of these new functionalities to a product, instead of measuring how that impacted their last release. What did we learn from our last release to tie it back into what we're trying to release now? Is this a want, or is this a need for the same problem we're trying to experiment with? And all of those things, I feel like, tie so well into the root cause of our ability to define needs over wants in equivalence to saying yes and no to good ideas and bad ideas.
I remember when I took my certified Scrum Master training. Now I'm taking you back in time here. You ready for this? Back in 2003, when I took my certified Scrum Master training, and I took it from Ken Schwaber. And Ken had an exercise called Major League Baseball, MLB, and it was called MLB tickets. And what he did was he piled on the number of things that he wanted. So during the exercise, he says, well, now it needs to do this. We just got word from the customer that now they wanted to do this and they wanted to do this. And the exercise was supposed to be, could you create this perfect experience for a Major League Baseball ticket customer, in an hour? And by the end, you could see that he was getting more and more frustrated and more angry. And it was cool because the takeaway was that he wasn't upset that we weren't meeting the needs. He was upset that we kept saying yes.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I learned, and this comes from Marriott School of Business. So this is a good one for you. Eccles School of Business. Sorry, not Marriott. It was Eccles School of Business. So University of Utah, Eccles School of Business. They taught in one of their sessions. Now, I attended the session live. They said to leaders, now this is to executives. They said, you should always keep asking as long as they keep saying yes. Don't stop asking for things until they say no.
Exactly. You nailed it. So, and I mean, it's very hard. I mean, we think about like the human aspect of it too, saying yes and no to things. Obviously, like if we bring it back to children, like we don't want to like be a drill sergeant with our children. We want to make them happy, but there's got to be a balance. Like if you're thinking about the future of your child, if you're thinking about the future of your product that's like impacting a mass population of users, you have to take that responsibility and saying yes and no and making a judgment call, essentially, that this is a need. There is a root problem that's tying to this need that we do need to uncover as the product people behind this product, versus saying yes to many cool ideas that the customer might bring in, but ultimately inflate a product that no one might even use. Like you might see a decline in user activity because you said yes to all these things. And now your product, what was once a TikTok app, is confusing. It's like Snapchat / TikTok / a lot of other things that people don't really know how to use anymore.
Well, it toasts bread for you. It helps you find your perfect soulmate.
And okay, so I will be devil's advocate here. I kind of went through this experience with Amazon. And I went through this trajectory with Amazon because I remember Amazon just being a bookstore when I was in college. Right. And then they started selling toilet paper and just like really odd things on Amazon. And then it turned into this massive embodiment of like goods and just export and importing. And then like small businesses got into it. And then Amazon started filming their own series. And now there's like Amazon shows, and now there's Amazon music. And like, it is just this whole mothership that is named Amazon. But see, you look at those stories like that, it's like, okay, well, it sounded like they were very open-minded, but Amazon was very on brand. And if you listen to their interviews, like their vision wasn't just to build a website to sell goods and make a profit off of. Like their vision was more focused on the people and their experience, very similar to Apple. But Apple has done the same thing too. Like Apple has its own series as well. And their vision is more focused on the experience that they leave behind with people with their brand. So when I think of Amazon and Apple and the major A-lister companies out there, you'll start to notice that their vision is more about branding over tangible products. And when you're making those decisions, needs over wants with your product, you want to take it back to your vision too. Like when you're uncovering these root problems and you have this conviction to pursue the problem that you're trying to solve with your potential product, your product could turn into something completely different because now you have a new problem that's on your radar, but it ties back into your vision. So I know I threw in a lot of product terminology in here, but when you are able to frequently practice your ability to define wants and needs, I think it really dramatically impacts your role as a product person.
Wow. And Tabassun, I'm just saying this for the record. This is the reason why I invited you on.
Oh, okay.
That statement right there was pure wisdom. I'm so glad we got that recorded because I will tell you right now firsthand, there are going to be Agilists who pull quotes from that statement. There are going to be Agilists who will play back that statement over and over again. That was pure magic. And that is what this is all about. It's about exposing you to the people where maybe there's a deficiency where I don't know everything about a topic. It's bringing out those people who know the best about those topics. And you nailed it there. You sent it home. As always, I have 3 questions. I have one more question for you to send us home.
Sure.
And I ask this question to every single person, but it's probably the most important question of the whole thing. Here we go. So I know we talked a lot about customer needs and wants, but with that being the topic, tell us one thing. If I'm a new Agilist or someone who's brand new at doing Agile, I'm a brand new product person, I'm a brand new Scrum Master, I've been brought into an organization and I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I can't get my head above water. I'm treading water, trying to swim, but I can only tread water for so long before I drown. What piece of advice would you give to someone to help them maybe, stop treading water and start swimming? Or what piece of advice can you give them to help them find success or to help them find their way? What, if you could pull one lever to help people really just, get past this, what advice would you give them? What would you tell them to do?
I think we all go through that frequently in our lives, where we're at a company and we had this really optimistic view of all the changes we're going to make and the influence we're going to have. And we reach a point where we're overwhelmed with expectations of others that are upon us. I will say that when I'm in that position, I try to bring it back, and I'm going to quote Simon Sinek. And I know all my listeners are going to be like, oh, here we go. Like with Simon Sinek, but start with why. Only because when you talk about that topic, I know it sounds easy, like to start with why, what is your why statement, but no, really break it down to the point of, why did you join the company? What is their vision? Why are you there every day? What is your purpose in the office that you're working in? Why are you an Agilist? What made you become an Agilist? Are you still doing things that tie into your why? And then also, if you're working on a product, and let's say it's just it's a frustration with product, your role, you feel very confident in, the company's great, everything's great. It's the product that's really bringing in a lot of stresses into your life. Bring it back to the why with your product. Why does this product exist? What impacts does this product make every day to its users? Is this turned into something that is no longer tied into the original why that was built behind the vision of this product? Because let's just be real here. There's a lot of products out there. They're probably older than I am. And that's what I call legacy products. And when you realize maybe the why has drifted for why this product even existed from the very beginning, that's something to definitely explore. But a lot of things you can explore to understand and really give yourself credit for. If you're feeling drowned and frustrated, don't be hard on yourself. There's a good reason why you're feeling this way.
All right. Last but not least, if people want to reach out to you, if they want to listen to the Agile Disrupted podcast, you want to give them some info, where can they find you? What can they do? And then we'll close this thing out.
Yeah, absolutely. So Agile Disrupted has its own site called agiledisrupted.com. You are welcome to visit that site. All of our season postings are on there. We're definitely available on most podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, the works. We are also on YouTube. But if you definitely want to reach out, feel free to follow us on LinkedIn as well. We have a huge presence at the community that is behind Agile Disrupted.
Love it. Tabassun, it's been nothing less than a pleasure. You are awesome. And today you heard words of wisdom. Thank you for being here. I realize your time is valuable and you shared some of that with us. If you want to learn more about this topic or any others, if you want to reach out directly to me, that's cool. I'll put you in touch with Tabassun. If not, you can also go to the Agile website, drop us a note, and we can make sure that we get that through to Tabassun that way as well. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Lee. It was a wonderful time.
All right. Well, stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile. Until next time, my friends, do take care.